We are doing the Mananam for the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, which is called as Dhyana Yoga, the yoga of meditation. So first, as we are doing now, we will look at a couple of shlokas and couple of manana, and then together for a while we will try to practice what is the questions that we are looking at. The mind is restless, turbulent, and strong and unyielding. This is the nature of the mind. So all of us have realized this. There are a lot of names people give for this. It is like a monkey mind, they say, because it is like restless, and yet it is strong. It will take us away from our goals, our objectives. Like the many of us who want to practice resolutions for this year, we want to change. Why we can't change? Because the nature of the mind, it is a restless nature. And he says, I consider controlling it as difficult as controlling the wind. So it is almost impossible, right, for us to control the wind. It operates on its own kind of means. The Lord says, Asamshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam. Abhyasena tu kaunteira vairagyena chagviyati. So this is the Lord is acknowledging that it is not easy. Undoubtedly, the mind is restless and difficult to control. But the two remedies, and this is the same thing Patanjali Yoga Sutra says. Here the yoga is the same yoga of Patanjali Yoga Sutra. How do you work with the mind? Two methods, two meaning two parameters. Abhyasena, practice. Kaunteya, vairagyena, repeated practice and detachment. So why does some mind run to an object? Because there is attachment, there is desire, there is a hope that it will give me some kind of a thing or some kind of a fear. So the mind is attached to objects, people, and things. So some sense of detachment. It can be controlled. There is also a lot of scientific studies. We will discuss that later. So manana, how do we do the manana? So the first thing is, am I mindful of the restless nature of my mind? So this is where, if we don't acknowledge that the restless nature of the mind, we are just identified with this. See, in order to even acknowledge that the mind is restless, we have to be a witness of it. If we have not seen through the restless nature of the mind, if we have not observed it, being distant from it, we will never be able to really know what we have to control. Do I pause mentally to acknowledge its impulses and projections instead of being carried away by them? So here, this process here is the first step of meditation practice. We will come to that second step later, but this is the first step. We have to first acknowledge that the mind, the impulses. This is the getting clear insight into the impulses of the mind. Have I consciously made it a practice to pause during the day? How effective is my regular practice in calming the mind? So even during the day, just momentary, we should take pauses. We should learn to, we are sitting in a car or we are too restless somewhere. So just consciously making an effort to withdraw, to observe the mind and to abide in that natural inward stillness. What is my understanding of dispassion? So this is the other aspect of the practice. One was repeated practice. See, every habit, the habit of attention, not having regulation of attention, that is also through habit we have made it like that. And especially this is very important today in the times of social media and where we are constantly caught up watching our phones, getting absorbed in watching the short, what do they call, the short clips and things. We are constantly caught up in that. So there, the mind habit has become like that. We are making it a habit more and more. So detachment, dispassion, ability to step back, step behind. How can I apply it to avoid distraction and enhance focus in specific activities? This is an important aspect of the practice. The mind's inherent nature is restless, and when we consciously acknowledge this, especially during its turbulent moments, we distance ourselves from it. So this dispassion, this ability, this vairagya, sometimes, we make it like a big thing and say, oh, leaving the world, letting everything go. The most important essence of vairagya is stepping back from our own mind and being an observer of it. So, dispassion and detachment serve as valuable tools for anyone seeking to control the mind. Even a student aiming to focus on studies must temporarily set aside other amusements and distractions. Through diligent practice, one becomes a yogi, a master of one's own mind and the world. So this is a yogi is not somebody who's controlling the world. We discussed this, right? But the yogi is working with their own mind, not changing the paristhiti, but changing the manasthiti. This we have discussed a few times. Okay, now let us look at the second aspect of that same thing, which is related. Uh, this is starting with these shlokas here. Shloka 25. It says, how do we work with it? How do we practice? Shanai Shanai Ruparamait Buddhya Dhriti Grihitaya Atma Samstam Manakratva Nakinchidapi Chintayet. Shanai Shanai Ruparamait. This is a very often quoted thing. Slowly and steadily. Overnight, we cannot expect to sit for 5-6 hours in meditation. Every day, a little by little, slowly, steadily. Every habit is changed by just adding 1 extra minute in a day. Like if you're meditating like 10 minutes, we start by 1 unit, 1 minute. If you're meditating 1 hour a day, then you start by adding 10 minutes more. So gradually adding and then monitoring that. So this is almost like a science, that's what the Lord is saying. The translation here doesn't capture that. So gradually, little by little, slowly, we should buddhya dhriti grihitaya. So the mind is trained by the intellect. This those who study Vedanta know that. The intellect we differentiate from the mind. The nature of the intellect is not that restless, wavering nature. So when we make a resolution, if the intellect is what is, then intellect is what is making that resolution. But the intellect, if it is not the controlling faculty, then it gives in to the mind. So here, once the mind is established in the self, one should refrain from all thoughts whatsoever. Atma samstam, the mind gets established here, self meaning intellect, Atma, the nature of our intellect, which is a controlling, if that is the controlling faculty. So there is where the change happens, the transformation happens, the resolutions will take shape. Yato yato nischarati manaschanchalam mastiram tatastato niyam yetad atman yeva vasham nayet. So this is the essence. Whenever the restless and unsteady mind wanders, one should withdraw it from that very place and bring it back under the control of self alone through the resolute intellect. So this is here is establishing the basic essence of meditation. Whenever the mind gets distracted, you first become aware of it, you note that, and through your resolution, you bring it back to the object of focus. So let us look at the manana for this. So when we sit for meditation, which we will practice now for a few minutes, first is having a clear object What is it that I will focus on? Very clearly, the intellect should not have two, three things. Of course, it can have stages. First few stage, I will do this. Second stage, I will do this. Second, third stage, I will do that. But the most important thing is if we are not sure, okay, I will try this, I will try that, then that is not going to help. You know? Like if that is again giving into the mind's moods, it is not working based on the intellect. So when we sit for meditation, the object of meditation should be pre-decided before you even start. Uh, that is when the attention becomes stronger, regulated. Uh, Am I consistently maintaining awareness of the mind even when distractions arise? So the first thing is when you note, when you become aware, what has happened, the mind has, you have actually stepped out of that mind. That noting is a very important aspect. When you note that distraction, half the battle has been won. If you don't note that distraction, then you get lost in it. Do I then gently remind the mind to return to that object of meditation? First noting and then the using that intellect to bring it back. Do I remain patient when the mind becomes restless during meditation, or do I give up prematurely? See, the when you note, it is actually a victory, but many times what happens is we think that this meditation is not working. We're not so, but the reality is, as many times you become aware, so many times have you, the awareness has been awakened. So that is actually a progress. How do I observe the immediate benefits of mind training, such as achieving a quieter state of mind right after meditation? Huh? So there is a immediate benefit we feel, a state of peace, a state of calm. It is a way to motivate ourselves. We should note that. Am I also able to experience these benefits manifesting later in the day? So if we practice for half an hour, 1 hour, or whatever time, we will see that it will help us. There will be a sudden amount of greater awareness, clarity. So some inspiration. All meditation techniques boil down to a simple formula. Whenever the mind gets distracted, we gently remind ourselves to refocus our attention. So this is a science, there is scientific studies which show that people who are able to remind themselves that the mind has gotten distracted, their brain, there are some neural pathways in the brain which change with the past things. This practice combines ancient wisdom with the modern science of attention regulation. So many scientific studies show that, like the people who also have this attention deficit disorder, they are also able to improve through these practices. Namaste.